Hey, this is John Davis. Today, I want to share a problem-solving tool called Edward de Bono's Six Thinking Hats. It can be you can call it problem solving, you could call it creative thinking, etc. But I know that business owners and business leaders deal with problems every day, and I believe this is a tool that people can learn to master and eventually learn to work through very, very quickly. I'm going to walk you through it. So, first, let's talk about what makes it hard to solve problems. There's a couple different factors: emotion, urgency, noise, and uncertainty. The emotion tied to the problem at hand, the potential solution, or the elements of a solution, particularly as it involves different people, if it's a change in roles or whatever it may be, can make it very hard for people to reach a conclusion to move forward. Urgency, either if it is urgent or if it isn't urgent. Both can cause a lot of problems. It can make it hard to either think clearly if it's a very urgent situation. How do you get all the facts? How do you figure it out and get the right answer quickly? And sometimes, if it's not urgent, it makes it difficult to solve the problem because you just live with it, the same challenge over and over and over. And it slowly gnaws and erodes the business's performance, culture, attitudes, perception, brand perception, profitability, all of that. Noise, knowing that there's a lot of noise in our business between the customers and employees' families and vendors and suppliers and market noise and media. I think there's a lot of things going on out there. And understanding what's noise and what's relevant to the problem, because there's so much noise, sometimes it's hard to see the true problem and the path. And then, of course, uncertainty. If we all knew that the decision we made was absolutely the best one, and we had the one clarity and certainty, we would go we would go far and go fast. However, that uncertainty in the different options, and we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what other factors are going to happen, causes us to hesitate or maybe be more conservative than is necessary. I think many people have seen a solution or a path be taken, but because people weren't committed to it, it still didn't work out. So that's where uncertainty comes in. So, what are ways people solve problems? Analysis paralysis. One individual creates a spreadsheet for 3 or 4 months. The flip side is the gut, the person who just makes a decision on the spur of the moment. Then you have debate. Debate is like analysis paralysis with people. People when they're talking through and they continually debate, and sometimes they get caught up in debating points that are meaningless and not relevant. Um, Sometimes we've all seen the debate turn into an argument. That argument and that emotion gets in the way of solving the problem to the point that people don't even want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the conflict, so they don't take a path. Or maybe they may take a certain path in spite of somebody or because of somebody because of the conflict. The flip side of that is power, right? Some people just say, well, the person in charge is the one who gets to make the rules. That doesn't mean they have the best decision or the best solution. It just means they're in charge. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes it can work against you. Um, or some people just ignore it and wait. I say, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to avoid this at all costs. I don't want to make a decision. Um, Sometimes problems do go away. Sometimes that can be a good strategy for a while. Sometimes it's a very, very bad strategy. An equally bad strategy is the final one is I'm just going to flip a coin. Like the NFL going into overtime, flip a coin. We'll see what happens. Either way, this game's going to be over. Um, Coin flips, at least you get a decision, you get action, but you may not get the right one. So, what if there was a process to do it better? This is where Edward de Bono's six thinking hats come in. He won a Nobel Prize in 2005, and he's written 70 books, business books, problem solving, etc. Per their website, he was chosen as one of 250 people who had contributed most to humanity in the whole history of the human race. I don't know who the people are who made this decision, and I don't know if Mr. De Bono was number 250, or really maybe it was number 251 or 2000. I think to be considered for something like that says you've done some pretty cool things. So don't know how credible that fact is off their website, but I'm willing to take it as being pretty relevant. So let's talk about the six thinking hats. So the six hats, they're kind of like, think of it as a costume. Somebody in a play may put on a costume so you know exactly who they are. The hats allow you to do that. They allow you to change your behavior. They allow you to be a new person without the complexity of changing the whole costume. They're quickly changed. Many people can wear them. They're one size fits all. It's great to have this hat concept, but each hat represents something different. So we have the white hat, which is logic and facts. Think of the white hat represents truth, right? You've got the yellow hat, which represents optimism, sunny optimism. When someone's wearing the red hat, they talk about the value and benefits of a certain alternative. The flip side of optimism is the devil's advocate, the evil black devil's hat, who always talks about the devils and dangers of any path or option that's pursued. We also have the fiery red emotional hat, which when people wear that hat, they think about, they speak in terms of feelings and intuitions. I don't know for sure, but I have a gut instinct that this is what it may be, is something that somebody in a red hat may wear. And then we have the green hat. The green hat is the creative hat, possibilities and new ideas. Think of green grass and organic growth, the fact of what could come out of this. Creativity is equated to brainstorming. And then finally, you have the management hat. The management hat ensures the rules of the hats are observed. And this is a blue hat, just like the blue policeman, the policeman in the blue uniform. So you can see these colors start to be a good representation of the roles of the hats. So you can see the roles and you can see what the focus is. So how do you apply these hats? You use each hat to break down the issue and you think creatively. When you're wearing a certain hat, metaphorically, someone can say, hey, I'm going to have a white hat thought, or you may assign somebody to wear a white hat. When they wear white, they're doing logic. Yellow is optimism, black devil's advocate, red is emotion, green is creativity, and blue is organization. And the good thing is these are interchangeable. They're one size fits all, and you can move them around. So let's say a team is solving a problem. What starts first is the blue hat coordinates the meeting and designs the flow of the thinking. Basically, that means they decide what sequence we're going to wear the hats in. The blue hat can also decide, does everybody wear that color hat at the same time? Or do people take turns wearing different hats? Or maybe they say, in this meeting, you represent the black hat, this person represents the red, this one the green, right? I like the idea of everybody gets to wear a couple different hats. And frankly, while you're going through it, you go through a sequence, but if somebody has an observation, they can call out, hey, I'm going to put my red hat on here. And I think you'll also find as you use this terminology, it becomes something without even being structured. People just start inherently solving a problem, and you may say to someone, hey, I've got a yellow hat pot, right? Everybody knows what you're talking about because we've embedded it in the culture. So anyway, example sequence. Blue hat structures the flow. They decide that they're going to go white hat first, who gives facts and data, neutrality, and then they say we're going to go next with the red hat, which is going to give the emotion and the feeling, the contrast, the facts and the data. And then while we're in this emotional state, we're going to talk about, well, what are the potential positive outcomes for a certain solution? And then we'll go to the black hat, which captures the potential negative. So we're getting to do both back to back. And then we're going to finish up with the green hat, where we're going to be creative. It's going to pull the best out of all those ideas that were shared and eliminates or alleviates the potential negatives that were shared. So this is an example sequence of how you would wear the hats. So why do you want to wear these hats? What's the purpose and the benefit of this solution? Number one, the team or an individual can explore the decision in multiple perspectives with control. This is better than your simple pros and cons list. You get to think a little bit deeper and capture a little bit more nuance and qualitative feedback to what's going on. And you get to control it, right? So it doesn't go off the rails. Eliminates finger pointing as team members take turns sharing the hats. It's not necessarily the team member with the idea. It's the fact that they're wearing a black hat or a yellow hat or a red hat. It allows them to represent a different point of view. And also it frees people up to talk about both the positives and negatives of any one solution. I've seen often in teams, once somebody takes a stance in a certain view, they struggle to verbally recognize the counterpoints that are being shared. If they're in a negative stance, sometimes they're so entrenched in the negative, they wouldn't dare give an inch and share a potential positive of another view. So it takes some of the individuality out of the hats. Another benefit, greater conviction. because each team member, when completed and a path is chosen, is confident that all were aware of potential outcomes and risks. All cards are on the table. Everyone's had a chance to wear the hats and to get these facts out there. Reduce time. Now, this may seem like a structured approach may take more time, and for some trivial decisions that could be true. But in some cases, when you think about the avoidance and problems that aren't being addressed and continue on and on and on, having a process like this can help you get through it in a faster manner with potentially less conflict. And then finally, if needed, a better reaction to events and outcomes because of greater awareness of the situation, particularly in the team dynamic, because all views were shared and people recognize all potential positives and potential negatives. They will most likely recognize that an idea or solution, that's chosen path, is working out for the good or the bad or both, with some pitfalls. And if we said, hey, this could happen, now everybody's looking for that to happen and can counteract it and respond to those situations. That could be, if it's a great solution and it's going great, you're like, hey, we recognize this could happen. We need to add more capacity. Or if things are going bad, we're like, hey, this isn't working. You're going to recognize it faster and you can change course faster. So let's walk through an example. Let's imagine a family that has to decide if they're going to repair or replace the family car. Not sure where your family is. In my case, we've got some teenage drivers and some drivers who are about to be teenage drivers who think they get to weigh in on this decision. So let's just pretend that you're in my house and you have to deal with this type of thing. I have a car that needs to be repaired, or should I just go on and move a new one, get to a new one? So what's an example of how it may happen? The blue hat, somebody pulls a meeting together, schedules the meeting, makes sure all the key family members are there, and then they dictate what's the sequence of the hats that are going to be worn. So they say, okay, we're all going to wear our white hats. What are the facts that are tied to it? Well, we may know the cost of the replacement, of the repair. We may know the cost to buy. We may know the time frame. We may know the expected lifespan of the vehicles. We may be able to say, well, that vehicle is only going to last a year. That is going to last 5 years. And we might be able to get 10 years out of that. Those are assumptions, but you could put them into the fact category as educated guesses, in my opinion. The red hat, you could get people sharing their emotions, like, oh, that was my first new car, or I really like that truck, or I really think we need a truck, or I don't like to ride that, it's uncomfortable because the air conditioning is not very good. Those are maybe emotional comments that everybody gets to get out. Then people can wear the yellow hat. Yellow hat talks about positives. If a new car is going to last longer, be safer, have fewer repairs, and they may say, well, fixing the old car is cheaper right now. That's positive. People can wear the black hat. Everyone can put that on. You say, well, even if we repair that old car, it could break down next week. Or a black hat could be a new car, could have more expensive insurance that we're going to have to worry about. Those are potential negatives of different paths. And then you can finish up with the green hat, where you're going to be creative. And in this case, the family could decide, let's repair that car, but we're going to take the savings that we would be putting into a new car, and we're going to be diligent about our monthly savings so that we have more money in the bank for the next failure, or when we're ready to replace and we're ready to buy that new car. So that's an example of how somebody may use these hats on a relatively well understood problem. So in summary, you've got the Bono 6 thinking hats. Easy way to remember. The white hat is logic and facts and truth. Think purity, right? The yellow hat, sunny optimism, talks about value and benefits. The black hat is the devil's advocate, who talks about difficulties and dangers. The red hat is emotion, is very fiery, and it gets to talk, and when you wear that, you talk about feelings and intuitions. Green hat is creativity, organic thought, organic possibilities, and what could happen new again. And finally, the blue hat is the management hat, like the police force. They create the rules of how we're going to use the hats. So those are the 6 hats. If you'd like to talk about it more, you want to learn how to apply it to your business, you can contact me. I'm John Davis at actioncoach.com, or you can call me 817-538-8864. And as always, now is the time to get into action. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.